The year is 2004. I'm 20 years old, and here are a few things I know are true. Someday, acclaimed Hollywood actor Chris Pine will learn who I am, fall madly in love with me. We will get golden retrievers and live happily ever after. I am too much. I am obnoxious. I am loud. I am overbearing, and I will never belong anywhere. The best food in the entire world is this barbecue chicken pizza that you can get at the corner shop near my house in Philadelphia. And anyone who disagrees with me on anything is wrong, stupid, and maybe even a little bit evil. A couple other things about me at this time. I was about to finish university, and I was studying youth work, which is never for the faint of heart, but I knew absolutely that I wanted to work with teenagers, even though I really was still one. I just didn't know where I wanted to do it, or even kind of how. I went to college in the US state of Kentucky, which is in the middle-ish, and there was a bookstore near our university that had a giant globe. And I was hanging out at that bookstore with a few friends one night. I spun the globe, and my finger landed on the top of the island of Ireland. My friend, who knew a lot more than me and had been here to Lurgan, actually, snorted at me and said, "You know that's not Ireland, right?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? It is. I'm not that stupid, right? Like, that's Ireland." And she said, "Well," she explained that it was and it wasn't, that Northern Ireland was, yes, a separate country with different currency and everything else, but it was also other things. And as she kept talking, I got more and more confused and more curious. I went home that night. Google was in its infancy, but it was kind of helpful. So I Googled youth work jobs in Northern Ireland, applied for one, moved here sight unseen in this late summer of 2005. When you move somewhere that wasn't home for you, things shift in your life. You start to see the world differently. You move through it in different ways. You even start to use different words or even different accents a little bit. I know it's terrible. But there are these moments, right? Moments that you know are going to shift and unshift things. So there's the big ones, like when I met my husband, when I graduated from a couple different schools, when my favorite baseball team won its world championship. Those are things I'll never forget. You like feel in your bones how those things work. There's lots of other little moments too, that at the time you don't realize are as significant, but they become that way. I had a whole year of those the first year I lived here. Kind of quiet moments, like when I learned I couldn't say gas station and ATM anymore. I had to say petrol station and hole in the wall. There were really aching ones, like in December, when it got dark at 4:30 and Christmas was everywhere, but it was wrong. The hymns were wrong, and the decorations and the food and everything was wrong, but I was surrounded by all these people for whom it was right. There were joyful moments. I was here for the historic David Healy goal against England. That was quite the night. There were really hard moments because, as I said before, being a youth worker is not for the faint of heart. And there were really mundane ones. For the rest of my life, I will always crave custard creams with my tea. I know that for a fact. It was my year of yes. I said yes to as many things as I could. I experienced as many things as I could. And what I realized is that I was changing. I'll be really honest, though. I didn't really get it. I was too young when I moved here the first time. I didn't really understand all the lessons that were around me. I didn't really get what I was supposed to do with them. But Northern Ireland didn't care. It transformed me anyway. It looked at me and it said, "Oh, you think that the way that you do politics in the United States is the only way to do it? Well, I see your two-party system and I raise you a five-party one. You think your faith is an American invention? Let me take you to churches that were built before your country was colonized. You think you are too much and overbearing and obnoxious? Let me show you people who will love you, who will help you create home in a place that once upon a time you couldn't find on a map. And you'll create family in ways that you won't even be able to articulate." But the things that it really taught me the most, This category of moments was learning that different didn't mean evil. Learning that you could understand somebody without agreeing with them. Learning that just because someone disagrees with you doesn't mean they're stupid. That multiple things can be true at once because facts are not always as important as truth. That is the category of lessons that I carry in my bones today. So what do I mean by you don't have to understand? You don't have to agree to understand. Great question. Love to answer you. So, small example. I, as a Philadelphian, deeply believe that the only place that you can get Philadelphia cheesesteaks is in Philadelphia. Deeply believe this. You see, there's environmental things with the bread and the cheese, and you have to slice the meat in a certain way, and it is... Sorry, I get very head up about this. For me, anywhere in the world there is a Philadelphia-style cheesesteak on the menu, it is wrong. It is wrong. For everybody else, it is lunch. Both of those things can be true, all at once. Sure, that's kind of silly, I get it. And there are some things in the world that you can't really do that with. They're too big, they're too intense. For instance, if you happen to meet somebody who is a Nazi, you don't have to keep doing relationship or friendship or anything with the person that holds those beliefs. You can seek to understand why they might, but then you can walk away and be like, hey, so I think those ideas are really, really harmful, and I can't truck with you anymore. I can't do this life with you anymore. You guys can go on your way. Many things can be true at once, and that's really hard to handle. A slightly more cogent example is climate change. It's a scientific fact. We've seen the effects of it all around us, but there's lots of people who don't believe it. And I could list them fact after fact after fact, and it doesn't matter because the truth that they feel in their bones is more important than my facts. But my facts and their feelings have to coexist in the world because they already do. And it is living here in this place that taught me to not automatically write everybody off that didn't agree with me, to not automatically write them off as a crackpot, but instead to ask more questions. Why do they think that? Why do they believe that? How does that element of the world shape how they move through it? What were their moments that got them to this decision? In fact, it got so deep in my bones, that lesson, that it's what I do for a living now. I ask more questions, and I make fewer assumptions, and I help people do the same. And it is this place that taught me the lessons to do that. So I did my year here as a youth worker. It was wonderful and hard and difficult and magical and all of the things that a good internship really should be. And I moved back to the States because I got some scholarship money to graduate school, and any academic ever will tell you, you never turn down scholarship money. But I moved back here as fast as I could. In 2011, I started my PhD at Queens. I met the man who would become my husband, the woman who would become my best friend and business partner, and a host of other people who would choose me like I chose them and would become family for me. And I got to learn all of those lessons over and over and over again. My place to learn that different doesn't mean bad was here, because it's different from where I grew up. My mother is not Northern Irish, as we often say in international social work, so I will never know what it's like to be Northern Irish. So therefore, I could get a lot of the lessons. For you, though, that place might be down the road, it might be in your own family, or it might actually be across an ocean and getting a visa. But the real secret sauce is that you go somewhere and open yourself up to life lived in a different way. That you realize that the way that you do human, the way that you move through the world, is not the only valid one. That you accept that being a human is really hard. We're all doing the best we can, and we all do it in a lot of different ways. Wherever your secret sauce needs to live, whatever it looks like I said, down the road, in your own family, however you can ask more questions and make less assumptions about yourself and other people, I behoove you to do it. We have to. We can't keep living in this entirely fractured planet where we don't know how to have conversations with each other. So the year is now 2023. I'm 40 years old as of last week. And here are a few things I know are true. Chris Pine might be a lovely lad. He has a fabulous fashion sense, but my happily ever after is found with a lad from County Tyrone in our wee house full of video games and books. You know what? I am a lot. I am a lot. But I found people who like that. And when I meet people who think I'm a lot, I tell them to go find less. The best food in the whole world is actually my husband's homemade ramen because he makes the dashi from scratch. But like pizza, you can't really get away from pizza. Like pizza's still pizza. People who disagree with me about things are still people. They're doing the best they can. And I can choose to understand who they are, why they are, and how they see the world instead of writing them off. So may we all lean into that deep truth that being a human is hard work. It's so hard, none of us get out of it alive. Very few of us know what we're doing. In fact, none of us really do, and we're all making it up as we go along. And so why don't we all be a little bit gentler with ourselves and each other? May we ask more questions and make less assumptions. May we seek to understand rather than categorize and condemn. And may we breathe in deep the world around us to allow us to transform us in the best way possible. Thank you.